Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Saturday Are for the Boys. I have Eddie alongside of me as we are kicking off Omnibus 6. This is the last Omnibus. We are doing issues 60 through 65, and this is wrapping up a big part of the boys. It doesn't end till issue 72, but that's more about the boys. This is wrapping up a lot of the Homelander story. So I'll leave it at that. We will not spoil the ending. We will not spoil past issue 65 of the comics. However, warning, we will absolutely be spoiling the first 4 seasons of The Boys as we compare the comics to the show. And we will possibly be spoiling season 5, the first 4 episodes. Not episode 5. If you haven't seen One Shots with the Supernatural reunion, don't look at my shirt. We won't spoil that one. So you're safe in that regard. And if we do spoil anything from season 5, we will give you plenty of time to get the hell out of here. You have to run out of here faster than A-Train. Okay, so I almost said somebody else, but no spoilers, even though that was all over the internet like a month ago. So Eddie, how are you doing? How have you been enjoying this season? No spoilers.
Doing great. Well, I've really enjoyed this season so far. Some great dynamics in character and events and stuff like that. So it looks like it's going towards, I don't know if I could call it a satisfying conclusion, but an understandable conclusion.
Yeah, I think this has been one of the funniest seasons. I don't know if it's because Soldier Boy has so many speaking lines, but I feel like every episode I'm laughing aloud more so than normal.
Yeah, they're really giving him a chance to just let loose, like just turn his filter off and go. So it's funny. He is funny.
This guy was on the CW for 15 years. Yeah, they turned his filter off. He's got to get it all out. All right, so last we saw in the comics, we're back to the comics. Jack from Jupiter ended up getting kicked off the 5. Stillwell and Jessica Bradley were kind of trying to pit the boys. Homelander's trying to pit the boys against them, and he's trying to play with their heads and confuse them, whereas they think it's Vought attacking them. It wasn't Vought, it's Homelander, because he's trying to get all the Supes to take over essentially the world and the government. So that's where we're last left. Jack from Jupiter was kind of thrown under the bus, but good riddance to him, because then he came back and he killed Butcher's dog, Terror. So that is the last thing we saw. So number 60, Over the Hill with the Swords of 1,000 Men, Part 1. Butcher is still very much so mourning Terror, and there's an event at the White House. The president complains about the VP being a goon. Again, this is Dakota Bob. They have stopped more Red River security from getting in, but they can't investigate any of the current ones anymore because it's getting too suspicious and everything's just getting too crazy. So this event at the White House is a bring your kids with special pets to the White House. Now I'm going to pop up for any of you on the YouTube. Look at this cover, and what does that make you think of?
That's a Wolvie cover right there all day.
That is a Wolverine cover. And this one made me giggle a little. So all these kids, bring their pets. And Vic the Veep, though, releases this angry Wolverine. They're not letting the Wolverine out of the cage because he's being a little too hostile. And he attacks President Dakota Bob. And this is Bob Schaefer, not Singer in the comics. Singer was changed because of Kripke and Supernatural. So he's dead. The president's now dead. Dakota Bob was killed by Wolverine. And a joke is actually made about Wolverines being the best there is at what they do in the comic. So there were plans by Stillwell and Bradley to actually take out the president, but those plans are now moot as some kids Wolvie did it instead. Meanwhile, just found out his daughter and his ex-wife are doing porn together. This is obviously very different from the show. So his head is not in the game when it should be the most. And we wrap with a soup team meeting with Homelander. So that's the first issue of this batch of comics.
Gosh. Ugh. It's a feel-good story,
Yeah.
It's bring your pets to work day. Everybody loves that stuff, right? Nothing could ever go wrong there.
Yeah, but they're really, anybody who's catching up now, Vic the Veep is not Victoria Newman, it's Victor Newman. He is a complete and utter dumbass. He is just a pawn by Vought, and now he is officially the president because the actual president, Dakota Bob, was murdered. Is it murder if it's an animal?
Sure, mauled. I don't know.
Mauled, that's the word, yeah.
He's been mauled. It's poor decision making and circumstances.
Yes, absolutely. So that's not too much. I mean, obviously a lot happened. The president died, but not too much happened in regards of the overall story moving forward.
Yeah. It's one of those interlude issues that has some sort of minor circumstance going forward. Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been interesting because I didn't read these issue to issue. I read all of these, 6 years ago in omnibuses, but to have to wait each month and not know if you're going to get like a detailed, deep cut or if you're going to get something silly, you never know.
Oh yeah, reading this 30 pages at a time, that's oof. That would be interesting. Yeah.
Well, and he does all of them in groups of like 5 or 6. So that's why
Mhm.
you have a lot of the part ones, part twos, part three, which you see that in other comics. But I feel like Garth
Yeah.
Ennis really leaned into that in The Boys. All right.
Yeah. Ooh,
So
I like that one.
61. Yes. Over the Hill with the Swords of 1,000 Men, part 2. So Huey and Annie are still having issues. Huey still can't get over himself because Huey's having nightmares about Robin, Starlight, and some aliens. Annie's over it at this point. She's like, you know what? I can't handle this anymore. You got to figure your own crap out. Janine says she got away from her mom. So Janine is MM's daughter. She's older in the comics. She's not a little kid like she is in the show. So she's away from her mom. MM's happy about that. I'm not even sure why they did this spinoff with MM and everything, but okay. So Stillwell and Bradley discuss how to make Titanic good cannon fodder. So if you remember, Titanic was the team that Mal Chemical was on, and he got kicked off to go to Super Duper because he had done something that was not consensual. So they're like, we need to bring them out, and we'll just, they're going to protect us, but they're really just cannon fodder. They're not a big deal. So Queen Maeve has put the bugs back in the 7 tower. It's a floating thing, not a tower. And Butcher sees the Deep and A-Train going into hiding for a bit because they know everything's about to go crazy. So the Deep attempts to kind of explain and help A-Train about the importance of financial security, and he recommends his excellent accountant. So the Deep is actually talking common sense, and he's being intelligent. A-Train is more like a frat guy kind of thing. So obviously that's very different from the show. I almost feel like they're switched.
Yeah, that's really, oh my gosh. Yeah, that's definite switch up right there. I mean, oh gosh, no spoilers, but yeah, with what you see from the Deep now, that's no. That he's been a clown show the entire series though.
Well, I love that they put him in Gen V as like, going back and hanging out with the frat guys, because I feel like that's what he is. He's just an eternal frat bro.
Yeah, he's one of those guys who would wear his little like, frat t-shirt until the day he died, from his pledge week.
Probably does. He probably sleeps in it.
Yeah, he sleeps in it. No. He wears that thing in public, like he's proud of it. Like when he goes back there he's one of those guys who goes back to his school for homecoming every year, no matter how old he gets. And
Are
he
we
wears
talking
that
high
same
school
t-shirt.
or college?
College. Like
Oh.
he's you graduate high college at like 22, 23. He goes back there when he's 45. And he's still wearing his pledge class T-shirt from 25 years before that. So yeah, he's that type of guy.
Just picturing. I still go to UCF homecoming every year.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
No, you're good. You're good. It's funny because I'm picturing certain people.
Oh yeah. You know the archetype. You've seen him there.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, but it is so funny because he's also like, he can't take his helmet off in the comics because he has some sort of like Atlantean curse put on him. So he has an old school scuba helmet on always. And he's very, they also race swapped both of them, which I have nothing against that. And I feel like if anything, they were just like, this is how we want this character for the show. So, Jesse Turner's A-Train and Chase Crawford is the Deep. But, and they, both of them have absolutely killed these roles and brought fantastic characters to screen, but they are not their comic book counterparts.
No, I really do need to read this now, even if it's just for anger purposes when I'm done with this.
There you go. That'll have you like drown your sorrows for the show ending. So MM finds something that may lead them to info on Black Noir, to which Huey looks concerned, and then Butcher he tells Butcher he no longer wants to participate in anything violent. Huey's like, look, I'm still going to help you guys, but I'm so over the violence. I don't want to do the violence anymore. I have to stop. And for those who don't remember, Huey was assaulted by Black Noir during Herogasm. But Black Noir never told anybody that the boys were at Herogasm, and Huey, that always made him wonder, like, why didn't he rat us out? Mm-hmm. So we end this issue with Paralactic, which is another superhero team. They bust in to find the boys. All right, so now we're on to 62. So we kind of already discussed some of the differences there between the show and the comic. So here's 62. We got a cover of a very young Queen Maeve, looking very Wonder Woman-esque.
Yeah, that's a good one right there. Very it's almost like a perversion of like the old George Perez Wonder Woman #1 in a lot of ways. Like,
oh, I mean, some of the art and some of the storylines and characters, I mean, they look like they were peeled right out of another type of comic. Like there's one that's not even subtle about the Batman Returns. It's 100% like the cover from Frank Miller.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Okay. I need to read these for that alone. Yeah. Okay.
It does. And I don't know if you were on the one, because I know I've done this. You've joined me. Thomas has joined me. Matt's joined me. I've been dragging everybody to come talk about these comics against their will. But the omnibuses are a great way to read it because there's so many like fun facts and background stories and sketches and all sorts of fun things, as well as the stories. But I mean, yeah, they're out there. There's something. All right. So this is part 3. We have Frenchie, and Kimiko. They just start beating the crap out of the Paralactic group. That's who just walked in. Butcher wanted to talk to them, so he's kind of annoyed, and then Huey finds one of them alive. He says a guy from Vought sent him, and then he accidentally self-destructs and explodes. So this group, they were more like machine than people, but they're still people, but they like redid them in machines and whatnot. And they remember the boys in the comics still have like V in them, so they're still abnormally strong. It's like temp V, but not temp V. I don't know. So they want to reach out to Noir at this point. They're like, something's got to be going on. Let's reach out to Noir. So Huey decides he's going to tell them about Herogasm and what a Black Noir did to him. And he tells them that he also, while he was at Dr. Peculiar's, which Thomas pointed out last week, that's clearly a nod to Doctor Strange, that he actually took a file on Maeve. And he learned that Noir one time pretended to be Homelander and assaulted her too. So Raynor's still alive. Look at this. We're into issue 62, and Raynor is still alive despite the fact she didn't make it past season 1 in the show. So Raynor's told by someone standing next to the president that she is no longer allowed to do anything without the president's approval. Remember, she's head of the CIA. She tells Butcher and mentions she gave files to NORAD. He tells her to prepare Pelosi to step in as president for when Vic the Veep is taken out, because she's next in line. So they do sprinkle in like real politics into
that's a real name right there.
Yeah. So Stillwell overhears one of the Titanic people mention Homelander's plan, because Titanic's there to basically protect Stillwell and Jessica Bradley. Again, it's not going to end well. They're calling them cannon fodder. To which Stillwell inquires more. So they're like, what are you talking about Homelander's plan? Because they don't know about Homelander's plan. They thought he knew. But then Frenchie and Kimiko bust into the room while they're talking. And while Butcher shows Huey that he's got A-Train all tied up. So I feel like I skipped through some of that. So basically, Jessica Bradley, and Stillwell are talking. So they're the ones that run Vought. Homelander's got this evil plan. They don't know about it. Homelander's trying to make the boys think that Vought's attacking them and get the boys out of the way so that they can enact their evil plan. So Jessica and, which is supposed to be like Sister Sage, and Stillwell, Madeline Stillwell, but a different Stillwell. She's not an angel with glowing boobs and breast milk, but she's a he in this. So they have Titanic protecting them, and they're asking more questions. And then all of a sudden, Frenchie and Kimiko come in because they were attacked by Paralectic, and they want more, they're seeking their revenge, and they start attacking Titanic. So we then see Huey, though, who said he doesn't want to do violence anymore. And Butcher's like, hey, I got A-Train tied up. He, killed your girlfriend, ran right through her. Isn't this going to make you want violence? So Butcher's manipulating Huey. So we wrap with Homelander on the phone, telling somebody to spread the word. Everyone knows what to do. And then we see Homelander puke and wonder, what have I done?
Well, that's a first. He's, if anybody is like, just legitimately like not remorseful, it would be Homelander. That's a first right there. But you talk about, right, like A-Train being tied up right there, and then Butcher kind of manipulating Huey to go after him. That's really reminiscent of like when he kills Translucent like 4 seasons ago at this point. Okay,
Yeah.
so you're talking like series. That's like second or third episode. I can't remember which, but now you're talking. This is way down the line. So Huey's either still struggling with this, and he's been struggling with that the entire time, or he has just has a different arc altogether in the series in the comic. So that's interesting to have that like existing this late into the series.
Yeah, they really must have like read the comics and just kind of pull very minor things throughout the show. But yeah, I didn't even think of that with Translucent. Yeah, that was his first kill. But I do think Huey does still struggle with violence, but I think he's in the show, he's just kind of accepted that there's no way to avoid it. He's
Yeah.
just always going to end up covered in
Yeah,
blood.
yeah. I always talk about Huey, with the at least in the show, in terms of what his character is like. The end of the first season, he's in a firefight with a bunch of bad guys, and he's like screaming, "I'm sorry," as he's like shredding them with with a rifle. So I always just kind of chuckle about that because that's his character right there in a
Yeah.
whole.
Yeah. But he also, keeps the hope and
Yeah.
he's the heart of the group. But yeah, so Homelander, he doesn't know what he did, but the wheels are already in motion and he feels like he can't stop it. So you have no idea how this wraps up, do you?
No clue.
Okay.
None.
Well, we're going to wrap this up and you're going to find out. So I'm actually excited to
Oh,
see your reaction because
that'll be.
I've talked to people and more than one person has told me I haven't read the comics, but I know how they end. And I'm like, oh, I think a lot of people just Googled it to see if the show was going to end like that.
Yeah, yeah. I'm very like I like to go for the ride, so I try to avoid things like that unless it just really takes hold of me. But yeah, I've just enjoyed the show like so much that I just go for the ride.
No,
So
I love that. Absolutely. Okay, so now we're on to 63. We see a little Kamiko with her chocolate limes. So, Over the Hill with the Swords of 1,000 Men, Part 4. So, A Train told Butcher that Homelander is planning to take over Vought, but that's about all he knows. Huey then yells at A Train as he cries and begs for his life, and Butcher says, just do it, just trying to get Huey to kill him. Huey doesn't want to, though, and then he hears A Train talk about Annie, and he kicks his head off. Because remember, A Train is one of the guys that got whatever from Annie when she got into the Seven. So he's brings up Annie and he's just like, okay, I'm done. Like, you killed my first girlfriend and now you're talking crap about my second girlfriend after you basically sexually assaulted her. I'm done. So Butcher got what he want. So Annie, meanwhile, is up in the Seven floating headquarters and she's packing up her stuff and she tells Maeve she should leave too. While Frenchie and Kamiko have taken out most of the Titanic group, Stillwell tells Titanic to stop fighting them, and then he's going to call the medical team to help Frenchie because Frenchie has completely lost his arm. He only has one arm now, and he's taking it very well. So because he believes they're both victims of a hoax, so that's what Stillwell's like, I think we were both duped. They wanted you to attack us, so we're fighting and not paying attention to what they're doing. So he wants to talk to Butcher. Stillwell's like, get Butcher on the phone. Let's talk to him. He then asks Frenchie who Frenchie thinks attacked first. Frenchie's like, you guys struck first. You sent the paralectic team after us. And Stillwell's like, no, we didn't. Stillwell then offers a truce, a negotiation, and medical attention. Homelander sees Maeve and Annie walking out and stops them, saying he has a plan in place. Maeve then attacks Homelander. Remember, she stopped, or in the last round of comics, she asked for an orange juice without vodka in it. So she's clearly scared and trying to take things a little more seriously, and she's done with Homelander. So Stillwell talks to Butchers on the phone, and they figure out that Homelander has pitted them against each other to distract them so that he can take over the government. They got soups at the White House, and there's soups at the Pentagon. Butcher then tells MM to put everything they've uncovered out there on the internet. He's like, all the stuff we've been holding on to, all of the dirty pictures, everything, all the blood and gore and all the stuff Homelander did years ago, throw it all on there like it's, what was it, the end of Winter Soldier with Black Widow.
Yeah.
So that's what's going on now.
Yeah, they're I can't say a whole lot right there. Like, try not to spoil anything for anybody. You need to go for the ride.
We've obviously seen at the end of season 4, and we've seen in the trailers, we've seen Homelander, whether it's come to fruition in the show yet or not, we've seen him in the White House. We've seen him with, the president at his beck and call. In fact, the end credit scene that we saw in 4, I think it was the president was showing him a sleeping soldier boy. So we know that there's stuff going on with the government. And since season 1, they've been trying to get Supes into the military. That was the whole thing with Homelander gave V to terrorists because it's like, hey, you got to fight fire with fire. If you're going to have V's jacked up terrorists, you got to have these souped up
Yeah,
superheroes.
yeah. Yeah, it's more along the lines of like what they're trying to do with like releasing all the information and stuff like that. Like they've always tried to release like the footage of the like they've tried to get the footage of the plane crash in the
Oh,
show out for
right.
years, and like they wanted to use that against him, but like they've never really been able to get a hold of anything or get it out there at all so far. So
Right. I feel like sometimes it's like, well, if we let this out, what do we have? So
yeah,
they'll hold on to, and I think they do that in the show too, or in the comic and the show. I feel like it's strategic because I mean, while the show is full of absolute jackasses, the people at the like Homelander and Stillwell and Butcher and all these people, even if they're violent and ruthless and their souls may be gone, they are still intelligent and
yeah.
strategic.
Yeah, they're like Homelander in the show is anything but strategic, even if he is a complete whack job. So
Yeah, yeah. And it's like, this is really what you want, but he does know how to, I mean, and we've seen him like get smarter. Like he learned from his mistakes. Like when he was
yeah,
firing everybody and, putting Deep in charge of crime analytics, he realized what a terrible idea that was. And like
yeah,
and he got Sage. I think that was the smartest thing he ever did was reach out to
yeah,
Sage.
yeah. No, that's was a fantastic move on his part from a from a decision making point of view.
Yeah. Okay, so now we know Homelander's up to no good, and Stillwell and the boys now have a truce, and Frenchie has no arm. So we are on to issue 64.
Oof,
Yeah.
I love that cover. That's awesome.
It is a very dark cover. All right, so Butcher tells Huey he's been toughening him up because he doesn't want to see him get hurt. So all the dirt is now out, including 9/11. So now everybody knows that the boys are the ones, not the boys, the Supes, the seven are the ones that caused 9/11. And they intentionally set up 9/11 to be the heroes, and they completely botched it and made it much worse than it was supposed to be. And that's how the Brooklyn Bridge got destroyed. Not the Twin Towers. The Twin Towers are still up in the boys. So Homelander shows up outside of Stillwell's window, and he's completely covered in blood. He calmly offers to jump. Stillwell's like, I can jump, so you don't have to kill me. Smooth as can be, very even heartbeat. Homelander's incredibly annoyed at how calm Stillwell is, and he tells him to keep watching. Just keep watching all the chaos that I'm doing, and Homelander flies off. Oh Father, who we have met this season, played by Daveed Diggs, has led a team of Supes in securing the White House and punches a reporter who asks him about the allegations against him regarding his junior team as Sidekick 12, which he was doing very bad, horrible, nasty things to. Meanwhile, Butcher has been given control of the Marines, so Butcher's got a lot of power in the comics. Homelander has entered the Oval Office, and the White House is surrounded by flying Supes. Butcher goes to enter the White House alone. MM asks Huey if anyone has seen Black Noir, and Huey says no. So that's how we end issue 64.
Wow, that's something.
It is something. But it's, I mean, like, when I was rereading these, like, I remembered the big things. Like, I remembered how it ended. I remembered, like, obviously remember the Wolverine part because Wolverine's my favorite. But, I remembered a lot of big things and didn't remember small things. So this, like, rereading this, though, it got me, like, more excited for, like, how are they going to end the show? Because I feel like they have to top the comic, but be different from the comic, but not veer too far away from what The Boys is.
Yeah, you have to. No matter what you do, you have to stick with the spirit of everything. Yeah, the part where he's talking to Stillwell and he says, "I'll jump right now," but he gets annoyed with him not being scared. That's a huge part of what we see in the show. Like literally, Homelander is as powerful as he is. He always backs down when people, even completely unpowered people, like just look at him and don't act scared. So,
Like Stan Edgar, yeah.
yeah. And somebody, it was one of the, like a lady who ran the lab where he was grown or whatever in season
Oh, yeah.
4. Like she looked at him, like she treated him like a little punk. And
it was Barbara.
Yeah, Barbara. You're like, she's dead. She's dead. Like, nope. she's fine. Just
Yeah.
and that's an element of the character that they capture in the show, and Anthony Starr just does such a great job at that. Like you have to hate him. Like
Mhm.
he's literally like the embodiment of evil in this series, but man, but he plays it so well, and that's an interesting aspect that they really play up on. And I love that about that show and about about how that character is portrayed.
Yeah. And then when they're still on the TV, as soon as she said she was scared, he killed her immediately.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's a great comparison right there.
Mm. Yeah. So very interesting. It's like but he doesn't want people like to be afraid of him, but he's disappointed when they're not, like, at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Barbara one was dark though, because he left her in that room with all the bodies. I was like, whew.
Yes.
She deserved it. They
Oh
tortured
yeah.
a little boy.
Yeah,
Homelander
yeah.
wasn't
Like,
born
like
that way.
it's nobody is innocent in these stories at
No.
all. So
Right. Not even Huey. Even he does bad stuff. I mean, look at how
yeah,
many people with blood on his hands because of what he did with his dad.
yeah, exactly.
All right. So this is the last one to wrap up this story. This is issue 65. This is not wrapping up the comic. We still have stuff to do, but this is the ending. I think that a lot of people are wondering how they're going to wrap this up. So this is wrapping up Homelander. Over the hill with the swords of 1,000 men conclusion. So Butcher enters the Oval Office, and Homelander is there with the president's head, which he literally skull had his way with. He
Ooh.
angrily, I don't try to keep it not PG, definitely not PG, but maybe PG-13. I don't even know. Just trying to not get his banned from YouTube. So he angrily tells Butcher the world is his with a lot of colorful language. Also, if you're going to read the comics, one, you have to keep in mind this is the earlier 2000s, so it's the earlier 2000s and the boys, so they're going to say much worse things than you even hear in the show. I'll leave it at that.
Oof. Yeah, yeah. The early 2000s was an extension of the edgy 90s. So yeah.
Right there, yeah. All right. So Butcher says humans aren't toys, and he brings up his wife. We see Black Noir then walk in, and then MM explains to Huey that Homelander was grown from Stormfront's DNA. So this is where we find out that Stormfront is the dad, not Soldier Boy. And he did kill a room full of people when he was born. So Black Noir was created to keep Homelander in check. Back in the Oval Office, so that's what MM's telling Huey this while Butcher's in the White House talking with Homelander. So back in the Oval Office, Homelander says he does not remember Becky in the comics, and he tells them there is a lot that he doesn't remember. Homelander basically blacks out a lot, and he's like, I'm told I did these things, and I have no recollection of doing them. And Becca is one of those situations. He does not remember assaulting her, and obviously her having the baby. I want to call the baby Ryan, but the baby's never named because Butcher immediately the baby. But he does not remember assaulting Becca at all. So he doesn't feel responsible for that baby. He doesn't understand because he blacks out. He says he was shocked when he saw pictures of himself eating a live baby, which all those pictures just got put out on the internet. He does, however, remember the family after the Believe Expo that he brought them up in a car and then he let them go. Suddenly, Black Noir takes off his mask and he looks just like Homelander. And he says, you don't remember doing those things because I did those things. You did not do those things. It's like a Scooby-Doo ending. So Homelander's completely shocked. And he's like, I would have never done all this evil crap if I didn't already think that I was evil. So basically, I think Butcher makes the comment like, you became a psychopath by mistake. So he was disgusted when he would find out he did these things. And then he kind of started to lean into it a little bit where he's just like, this is just who I am. But he never actually did these things at first. Homelander then attacks Black Noir and Butcher takes off because, you know, it's like they say in Supernatural, if Godzilla and Mothra are going to fight, just get out of the way. Black Noir, with intestines falling out of him, walks out with Homelander's torso. Butcher finishes the job by scooping parts of Noir's brain out. Butcher then cries, apologizes to Becky, and says that she won't like what he's going to do next either. And that is how Homelander story ends in the comics.
So Black Noir and Homelander are, I think I've heard this before, like they're clones. Like
Yeah.
Noir is a clone of Homelander. I have heard this little bit. So we have Noir and Homelander taking each other out, and then Butcher finishing off the other one.
Yeah. So
Okay.
basically, Homelander's angry because he's like, you did all these evil things. You made me think
Yeah.
I was evil, so I leaned into it. And when he, I guess, didn't want to, I mean, clearly he still made his decisions at the end of the day, and I'm not going to feel bad for him.
Yeah. Exactly.
So he attacked Noir, and since they're both incredibly super abled people, they just took each other out. And then Butcher wouldn't have been able to finish off Noir if Noir wasn't already having his intestines hanging out and whatnot. So
Yeah.
his head's like exposed, and so Butcher literally like just scoops his brains out, and he looks like a maniac. He looks crazy. I mean, like
Oh yeah.
I should have pulled up some of those pictures, but yeah, he looks absolutely insane. And so he's knows that Becky would not be happy because Becky never when we went over the issues where the assault happened to Becky.
Mhm.
I like that they changed it to Becca. I feel like that's more modern age name. But when we're reading her diary or Butcher's reading her diary, it says, I can't tell Butcher because Butcher will try to kill Homelander and that will just get him killed. And well, fortunately it didn't, but yeah. But he knows that she still wouldn't have liked how violent he got because she was the one that always kept him sober and stable and not violent. And of course, as soon as she passed away, he went full on
Yeah.
butcher.
Yeah. To name like that, it's self-fulfilling prophecy in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to see if I can find that. Yeah. See, this is him like, let me take this picture off. Whoop. I think I left all these pictures up. Now I can't pull any of the pictures up. Okay, let me start here. You can see like the brains just in his hand, just scooping out the
Oh,
brains. It's terrible.
that's Garth Ennis for you.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, the art is definitely one that I mean, it's like the show. You're going to look away at some of these things. But when you have him walking out, I mean, it's absolutely disgusting. Yeah. And they're shooting at him. Here he is walking out. There's Noir walking out holding Homelander. So it's pretty gruesome. And then all the
Yeah.
military's shooting guns at him and everything. But it's just, yeah, parts of a body. It's not even his head. So that's how it ends. Obviously, they
Gosh.
can't do that in the show. We don't even have the original Noir anymore. And
Yeah.
we knew that Noir was not his clone because we had seen his face in the 80s with the flashback with Soldier Boy. Well, now he takes his thing off all the time. So,
Yeah. At least in private.
yeah.
Yeah, because that's one of the more interesting things. Like I heard that whole thing about Noir being a clone of Homelander like years ago. And when they brought that up in the series, like I expected to see like a half burned like Anthony Starr, but like, oh no, it's somebody else. They're gonna have to do something different here. So I'm looking forward to see where that goes eventually, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah, but yeah, no, they can't rip that off. But I do love that they still have Homelander like talk to himself in the mirror kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because and but he also it's always been interesting with the whole Becca thing in the show because I feel like he doesn't like ever admit that he like assaulted her. Like it was always very interesting how they try to like he tried to make it like he wasn't a bad guy in that scenario. And
Yeah,
that's
I think
not
he's rationalizing, so
yeah, probably just rationalizing the evil whatever. And obviously like I mean I 100% believe Becca, but it was just always done so odd to me, especially because that's not who Homelander is. But I just was like, would they just have to keep this because it was in the show kind of thing or in the comic and they really wanted to introduce Ryan because it does create a very interesting element. But it's not a Homelander's not like an overly like he doesn't even go to Hero Gasm unless it's
yeah,
to
he's
fight Soldier Boy or
yeah,
whatever.
exactly. He's as much of an outsider. He's the premier one, but he's as much of an outsider from the rest of the soups as anybody else is. So,
Yeah.
like
Maybe
in
he
the
just
show, okay,
no, you're good.
oh yeah, no, he's as much of an outsider as anybody else. Uh-oh.
You're good. Go go.
Okay, there we go. Yeah, he's as much of an outsider as anybody else is, even though he's like the face of everything. So it's that's an interesting part of the character. You're never gonna like him, but you can like maybe be explained about who he is. That's so you know
Yeah.
you love to watch bad people get their comeuppance at some point.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I mean, I love the Fudgy the whale episode that we were talking about before, because it did kind of make you feel bad for him as a child, but he's still completely ruthless and evil. And like you kind of felt like the people that he killed that day were it was warranted. I mean, you tortured a child. But I also wonder, what were they thinking in the comics, that we're going to clone this guy because he's evil, and well, he's not evil at that point. He just killed people being born, but we're going to clone him to keep him in control. Like, why did you think that the other one was going to be not as harmful?
It's I know you always hear about like, like some town they have like some sort of like, oh, we have this invasive species of frog, so let's bring in these or we have these bugs, so let's bring in these frogs, so they end up with frogs everywhere, so let's
Right.
bring in whatever else, and just like problem compounds upon itself, and
That's
they're
a
not
good
thinking about
metaphor.
that.
Yeah, I like that. That's yeah, good example. Um, but so when knowing this now, though, if you do go back and read, there were times where I was reading where I was like, oh, they kept giving us clues. Like even on 9/11, in the show, the people who don't fly, we just don't really see them fly. We're not really seeing anybody get carried or anything like that. But in the comic, they're regularly carrying other soups who can't fly when they go to do things. And so at one point, I forget who was carrying Noir during 9/11, but he did drop him, or she dropped him. Again, I don't know who's carrying him. And somehow he miraculously survived. And they make that comment like, we don't know how he survived, but he survived. It's because Noir can fly. And I think that in the show, when they replaced him with the new Noir and they had him be able to fly, I took that as a nod to the comics with Noir being able to fly. Because
Yeah, it's
first
a little
Noir can't
nod.
fly.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
little nod.
Yeah. So that's it for the Homelander story. Any final thoughts, comparisons, or anything you want to get out? Oh, I just took you out.
Here we go.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, I think we're just in for the ride on this one. You know, I don't. One of the things I've always said about this show is this is what would happen if superheroes were real, because they would immediately be corporatized and monetized and everything.
Hmm.
So all you can do is go for the ride here, and it's never going to be pretty. So that's just the way it's going to be.
Yeah.
We're gonna get a logical conclusion. I don't think it's gonna be. I don't know if you call it satisfactory, but it's gonna be one of those like, yeah, makes sense type
Yeah.
of things. Like,
Yeah.
okay,
No, I mean the
but
writing
should be
team's doing a
fun.
phenomenal job. Yeah, I think they will. I hope they stick the landing, especially because with this being my favorite show, I want it to be my favorite show until the end. Although I hated the Supernatural ending, and I still rewatch that show all the time. I just don't watch the finale. But with this show, you need a good finale. People don't come back from the dead in this show. Um, but there's a couple things I like. I do like that they brought in the religion thing. I think that's been very different in separating it from the comics. So that's been very interesting. Although I also
Mhm.
hope that we get a happy ending in the show, because how much real life is mimicking this show incidentally. It would be nice to have a happy ending. And I'll leave
Yeah,
it at that.
yeah. As yes, the ever presence of the monetized church is getting a little bit too much reality in my comic booky stuff here. So
Yeah, absolutely. Wait, between Daredevil and the boys. But yeah, so that's what we got. Those are issues 60 to 65 from the sixth omnibus of The Boys. Next week, we will be wrapping up this comic with the last issues up to issue 72. And that is, what does Butcher do now that Homelander's dead? And so stay tuned to find out. So that'll be next Saturday. If you need more of The Boys coverage, we do have articles dropping every Wednesday at noon. As soon as, when the new episodes air, we got spoiler-filled reviews. Matt and I are also doing at 6 every Wednesday. We were doing quick little recaps of the show and just getting some feelings out that we obviously have from the show. And of course, there's reels all over our socials of comic book backgrounds and other sorts of stuff. So we have all the stuff you need for The Boys. There is even an article on our website right now at nerdinitiative.com with all the supernatural Easter eggs that appeared in the last episode, episode 5. So that's what we got. This has been Saturdays for The Boys. Thank you guys for joining us. And, RIP Homelander Noir.